Hey folks, welcome to the Triple T Thursday. For those just joining us, that's tools, tips, and talk, where we'll discuss info for the knife maker. In today's episode, we will finish our intermediate build series and finish the Bowie build that we are doing. So let's get right to it. Okay, picking up from last week, we had just marked the handle, so now I'm going to go to the grinder and just grind to those lines to square it up before we do anything else. So I've squared up the handle. It's all nice and perfectly 90 degrees to the knife now. I've gone ahead and drawn my handle pattern back onto the block, and I'm going to cut this out, the profile out. The reason I'm going to do that now is because I want to figure out where I want to put my pinhole, so I better make sure I have this profile perfect this way before I put a pin, or else it'll be off center. So now that our block is all profiled, now I can kind of put the knife on it and roughly see where I want the pin to go. I think I want the pin right about here. Okay, so now I'm going to measure here to here, center it up. I should have no problem hitting the tang here in the center. So for the actual pin, since I'm using a stainless steel guard, I want to use a stainless steel pin. I don't like using really big pins for these, so what I end up doing is buying 16th inch stainless steel nails, and then I'm just going to drill a little 16th inch hole in here, and we're going to set this pin. Okay, so I've got everything attached. I've got a 1/16 inch drill bit ready to drill my hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill the hole in the wood. I'm going to touch the tang. Don't try to drill through the tang with the wood in place. This is a really thin drill bit, and even really with any drill bit, you're going to flex the drill bit, you're going to widen the hole here. So we're going to do those in 2 steps. And we're going to use a different size drill bit, and I'll explain why in a minute. So we got our hole drilled here, 1/16. Now we've got our little spot on our tang. I'm going to drill this hole with an 1/8 inch. And the reason being is in case you need to sand the top of your handle flatter, something happens by the time you grind the guard. Sometimes what happens is then the hole doesn't fit. So what I'm going to do right now is drill a hole that's bigger, so there's a tiny little bit of play. This is going to get filled with epoxy anyway. I have seen people like fill this with brass or copper. Honestly, you don't need to do that. It's kind of a waste of time. The epoxy is going to fill that anyway. So right now I'm going to drill this with an 1/8 inch. Well, I said I was going to drill it, but obviously it didn't get soft enough. So, I'll see if I have a carbide bit that big. All I had in carbide was a 3/16, so I'm just going to use that. It should be plenty. So we got our hole done, hole in the tang, so everything should fit up nicely with our pin. Remember, we're doing these in specific orders. We wanted to make sure that the handle was perfectly square and the profile done before we drilled our pinhole, so that the pin is exactly 90 degrees and we know it's centered in the profile. So now I'm going to move on to the guard. Same, just like the handle, I've drawn some lines because when I filed this, it got a little askew, so we're just going to file these down and then file the handle to match because we want these to fit up smoothly from here to here. All right, so I've got the guard squared up. Now we're going to talk about what I want it to look like. So I'm actually going to put a little lip on the top of the guard here when it comes down to meet this. So it's going to just kind of rise up a little bit. Of course, it's going to be rounded on the back, so this is going to be a little rounded shelf. And then this is going to kind of come up like this, and then kind of come down, and then the top will come down like this. Something like that. All right, let's grind it and make it so. This build wouldn't be possible without Maritime Knife Supply. That's where I get all my steel, all my abrasives, you name it. I get it at Maritime Knife Supply, and I think you should too. Go check them out. So here's the guard after some grinding and some filing. I've kind of knocked off the edges on the top with a round file. You saw me do this little scoop at the back. Now the last thing I like to do is little scallops off the top edges. So I've put a little mark on the bottom. That'll be the center of the round wheel, so I'll have a target. And then I'll just do each one. So I have the guard all filed down. I'm not going to sand it just yet because I want to do the handle. I'm going to put the guard on it, and then I'm going to just, you can see it's quite a bit narrower here. So I'm going to trim this up to like, and kind of taper it like this. Okay, and then from here, what I want to do is, it's going to have kind of a Coke bottle handle, so it's going to have a hollow here that we're going to do on the wheel, and this is going to be a bit thicker. On this handle, I've got 2 fingers, and this section I like right between the 2 fingers. So you got 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and this will be pretty narrow. So I'll show you how I do this. Here I'm using a 4-inch wheel on the edge of my platen just to get the curvature that I want. It takes a little practice what angle to hold the knife at, but once you get it a few times, you'll figure it out. The first couple of times you do this, layout lines are definitely your friend. You don't try to freehand this without any kind of layout lines. You're really going to mess up a knife. Now I'm really just knocking off the corners and trying to sculpt it a little bit. I'm going to do this a lot with a file afterwards and then sandpaper. Now I'm just leveling out the side of the handle and the guard to make sure it's nice and smooth. This inevitably scratches your guard, so that's why I finish it last. I've done a bunch of sanding on the handle just to get it close, particularly everywhere but here. I'll just finalize this in a little bit. But what I need to do now is, unfortunately, this block was not stabilized very well. There's a bunch of voids in it. This isn't where I normally get handle material, so I'm going to end up filling those. The best way to fill those is to get some CA glue. I love this Starbond stuff with this really thin applicator, because you can get that like right inside those little voids. And then they've got this accelerator that you can use. Really good stuff. So I'm going to do that and then sand that clean before I go to any higher grit. Alright, so I've done a bunch of work on all the fittings. These are all sanded to 1,000, so they're ready for buffing. And the blade has been sanded to 2,000, so almost a mirror finish, but not quite. I can still see some scratches in it, but that's okay. I don't really want a mirror finish on this. I just wanted to go to a really high finish before the etch, which will bring out the hamon. So that's our next step. We're going to get this in the acid only for about a minute, and then bring it out and polish it with some 1500 compound to bring out that hamon. I actually ended up sanding this and re-etching it 2 more times just to get it perfect. I had little blemishes that I really needed to get fixed. So here's the blade after etching and polishing. I think it came out so cool. You guys will see better shots when I do the glamour shots. Now it's time. I need to buff these two and glue it all up. Well, folks, I'm really happy with the way the knife turned out. I think the hamon looks amazing. So, yeah. Handle also looks really good. Hit it with a little of this pelican paste from my buddy Travis at Bird Forge, both on the blade and the handle, and it just feels awesome in the hand. So really happy with how it turned out. I still got to sharpen it, put my maker's mark on it, but I'll do that later. This marks the end of the intermediate series. Hope you guys got something out of this. We'll see you on the next build.